So ever since I was younger, I've always known the power of money, what it can buy you and what it can bring into your household, whether that's happiness or a new bag of hot Cheeto Puffs. And in Star Wars, my favorite character, Han Solo, said, "I'm only in this for the money." And whether that was in school, work, or even in my own family, that was my only driving force when I was younger. So my first example is in school. So at Buena Park High School, we had an incentive program in our AP US History class. And that is, if we get an A on our first exam, we would get $5. Now, 16-year-old me said, what can I get with $5? A Starbucks, a couple bags of chips, and a package of new hair ties. So of course I studied real hard on that last AP US History test. And of course, I got an A on it. So I got that $5, and I remember thinking to myself, if that wasn't the incentive, I thought I would have just gotten a B like on any other test. So of course, money was the reason why I was in it, to win it. My second example is my first job at Little Caesars. So it was very easy for me to get there. It was right down the street, and the interview seemed really easy. So I'm like, this is going to be a great job for me. 4-hour shifts every day. It was terrible, but I was in it for the money. Of course, I forced a smile on my face at the cashier, and I made the best pizzas I could, because at the end of the day, that first check was so liberating to me. I could buy whatever I want, save a little bit of money. It was just a very enjoying thing when you got your first check. My third example is with my own family. My older brother, Mister, is not necessarily a bully, but he's an entrepreneur. He would get me to do a lot of things for him for a simple $5 or $10 bill. Whether it was his math homework in the 4th grade or to do his bathroom chore, if he said, Ashley, I'll pay if you do this, I would run right over and do it for him. So in conclusion, in many instances, I'm only in it for the money because it'll benefit me and of course the outcomes later on. Thank you.
We did either because
people get like best of the best.
I got less. Just because I was only by cheerleader, that's why I was voted.
when I saw Kanye, we didn't go because of Kanye West concert.
I was Kanye. I cheered for 4 years. I was not gonna miss Kanye West. It was like I was like, it's my 4th year cheering. I've done this for 3 years already. I'm running to see Kanye West. It's like, coach. I literally pretended to cry. I was not. It's not.
Yeah, so I got excited.
I cried. You cannot less
I know, like,
My brother got most changed.
not real and then
No, exactly. Like when he fell off the platform, I was like, let me go downstairs. I'm gonna find him.
One picture is holding a bunch of candies. But they use when we're just sitting there smiling. It says, quote, medicine.
All right, Ashley, I like the setup. You've got a nice you got a nice statement of the topic. That part was good. You don't really say what your position on it's going to be, although we get it as you're talking, during the presentation. So it's not like it was a big secret, but I think you do want to set it up at the beginning. There's no layout of what the structure is going to be. You just go right to the first point. It is pretty well organized in the body of the speech, but nothing hurts. It doesn't hurt to have a preview, and it would add a little bit more content to your presentation, because it's not that it was a hugely short speech, but it just made 2 minutes, and you've got lots of time, so you don't need to rush. And that was maybe the main issue that I thought in your presentation was a little problematic. It felt a little bit like you were racing at times to get to the end of the speech. Well, now there's an advantage about going faster in that it feels more engaging and like you are connecting with the audience and you're kind of forcing them to come along with you when you go that fast. But it also seems like it's a little bit as if you are just anxious to be done, and I don't think that you want to come across that way. I didn't think it came across that way much in your presentation, but that's something that you have to be careful of. And the more you have to say, the less likely it'll seem that that's happening. When you go that quickly and then you end early, then it's a combination of those things that I think creates a little bit of a problem. The delivery issues, hey, You projected very nicely from the very beginning. It was easy to hear you. You sounded engaged. You're talking to an audience and not just the people in the front row. That's good. There's good variety in your voice when you're speaking. Like I said, the pacing is a little bit problematic, but you've got lots of gestures. You use them primarily to describe things. There are a couple of times that you're using them to do a transition sort of thing. That's good. Facial expressions are very animated. Your eye contact with the audience is excellent. You're doing a good job there. I didn't see anything that was anxiety suggestive, except the, like I said, the pacing sort of thing. The end of the speech also felt a little bit rushed. So that it felt not exactly abrupt, but it needed to be a little bit, I think, stretched out. And I haven't been talking about people's appearance. I could always do that, and so we give you top marks for your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You know, there you go on that.
on purpose.
And you know, then you lose a little bit with the torn jeans look. You know, I know that that's a look. It's a very fashionable, but you do know when you're getting up to give a speech, sometimes audiences can be a little bit unforgiving, and maybe you wouldn't have somebody who is so open to your fashion choices. So you might want to be careful. Now, like I said, the shirt I think was, of course, a deliberate choice on your part. Okay, there you go.